Matt Luke preaches the truth this week to the media, talks about the O-line, the progress, all the way down to the difference between Dabo and Kirby. I'm going to talk about this and more. Welcome to the show. If you were just watching just a second ago, I started this video and then something happened. It's never froze up on me like it did, but if you joined me, rejoined me, thanks. I do appreciate it. To everybody who's new watching either way, I do appreciate you being here. Hope you'll subscribe. It is free, and it's the easiest way to support the channel. Did I mention that it is free? I do appreciate it. So earlier this week, Matt Luke met with the media, as did basically everybody else who coaches for Clemson, and talked to the media. And transparently, I'm really not into, pre-game media conferences, post-game conferences. A lot of it is just a waste of time. And part of this is actually addressed by something that Matt Luke said, but the video is up. I want to say Clemson Sports Information. You can look it up. And it's a 26-minute long video. Folks, I watched almost all of it. I was extremely impressed with the way that not only that he carried himself, but the way he offered his answers, because it gives me hope. Now, I'm not saying that it's given me hope for this year for Clemson. I really believe that this is more of a getting more stability, hopefully getting more stability into the program. I think that this is a great way for Clemson to build this year their offensive line, try to find more of an identity offensively, and then address further needs, maybe in additional coaching hires, maybe making some personnel changes, and or refocusing their attempts on landing better offensive recruits, because I'm really not worried about the defense. I'm not saying that there's nothing to worry about there overall on the long term. I'm just saying that right now the current issue is the offense. So, hearing Matt Luke talk about the progression of the offensive line and what he would like to see, it felt real. It felt genuine. It felt like I was listening to a person who realizes that they were brought in to fix something. They were not brought in to spew Clemson football talking points. He realizes that he came to this team to do something. And I'm telling you, you need to go look it up. But let's talk about what he said, and I can sum up some of it for you out of the 26 minutes of impressive responses to the media's questions. So Matt Luke talked about that he wished that he had about 15 guys that he could rotate in and out. And, he kind of chuckled. But he did say that there's roughly 7 to 8 guys that he can comfortably rotate in and out of the offensive line. Now, some of you are like, well, hold on. All we need is 5. He addresses this by saying, well, hold on, there's you will have injuries. And we need to remember that. You will have injuries. In fact, Clemson has suffered a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball, especially over the past few years. Not just on the offensive line, wide receivers. I mean, good Lord, Randall and Stellato can't stay healthy, and I'm not knocking them personally. Antonio Williams got messed up, but we've had other players who had to battle through injury, especially on the offensive side of the football. So Matt Luke brings that back to everyone's attention that, yeah, you got to have your 5, but injuries are there. And it can be very present, especially in the trenches. This is kind of a duh factor, a duh statement. But he addressed that he is seeing progress in the team, but when he talks about, or the progress in the unit, but when he talks about it, it's not over-exaggerative. And one thing that really impressed me also about when the media kept pounding, it kind of kept throwing little darts at him, not in an offensive way, but just trying to figure out, can you give us more detail on what you're telling them to do? And when he said this, I went, this guy's just a different breed, one guy asked him, said, what are you telling your players to work on? And Matt Luke said, well, they know what they need to do, because when we're all together and we're watching film, I don't have to tell them, the film tells them. What a brilliant answer. What a brilliant answer. And for some of you, you're like, ooh, yeah, and you'll be the very one who goes into the Clemson talking points. The Clemson talking points and what we've accomplished over these years and graduation rate and you know, the family culture that we've built here, that is good. All right, that is good. I'm not knocking 16 and 18. I remember watching it and loving every second. Couldn't even believe it, especially in 16, that Clemson actually won the national championship. I couldn't believe it. But with that said, you have to continue to build on that. And he just points back to the film and says, hey, what does the film tell you? The film told you that you didn't do your assignment. That's basically what he's saying. And so to hear him respond to the media in such a controlled yet genuine, nuts and bolts, strategic way, it makes me feel better for the direction of the team for the long haul on the offensive side of the football. And you're like, how does that do that? For you to address a problem, you can't overreact to it, but you do have to react to it, and you have to name it out. What is the problem with this unit? What are the issues? Now, let's pause there. Notice he also protected his players by not specifically telling the media or the fan base that you know he's in detail told them individually what they needed to work on. But he knew that if he mentioned some of that, people would begin to start saying, well, is he talking about Tristan Lee, or is he talking about Sewell, or is he talking about... He protected them as he should, which is another great example of being a really good professional and a true expert within your field. And I'm telling you, folks, you need to go watch this interview, because it gives me hope, again, for the long run. Some of you are like, does that give you hope we're going to go beat Georgia in 6 weeks? No. Matt Luke, in a kind way, told the Clemson fan base, listen, we're not there yet, but I'm seeing progress. All right? So, Clemson fan base, I have been telling you over and over, I've been talking about the problems with Clemson and the residual effects, but I am literally giving you something here to actually be happy about. I am giving you something that makes me happy to see that Matt Luke, in a professional way, is protecting his guys while behind closed doors looking at them going, what does the film tell? Did the film just tell you that you've been doing the right thing? You know, what I've taught you? I'm telling you, that gives me hope, because that's true development. And talking about development, he said his goal is to get into the minds of his players, to figure out how to inspire them, and to really get to know them. And he referenced his 2 children. He said, I have 2 children and they're very different. I can't approach one the same way that I approach the other. And he said the same as with coaching. I have to approach each player differently. What is their why? You know, let's learn about your family. I want to know more than just your name. I need to know you. I need to know what you're in this for. What's the long haul look like for you? And I'm just telling you, folks, again, that gives me hope, because when you have someone on the, on an individual level, with these units, or in this case, offensive line, you're going to have to challenge each guy individually in their way to ultimately pull them all together, different human beings, different mindsets, different backgrounds, to accomplish one goal. And hearing him talk about it, and just his firmness, yes, yet gracefulness with the media, I'm sorry, it inspired me. It's inspiring. Once again, 2024 is a year that what Clemson needs to do is play very close in the games that maybe they're not favored in. Like this Georgia game, if Clemson loses this game by 10 points or less, I think we should see that as a victory. I really do. They still have to play the game. I hope Clemson wins the ball game. If y'all see that as negativity, negative for me saying, hey, if they'll just lose by 10 or less, and then they come out and they grow the rest of the season and put together a 9 or 10 win season. If you see that as negativity, yet you want to slap me over the head when I tell you we're not going to win a national championship and some things needs to change, I really don't know how to convey a constructive thought to you. Yeah, I really don't. I don't know what you want. Maybe for me to lie to you. I mean, the media does a really good job of lying to you, and they know what gets you to click, or get some clickbait there. But what I will say, I actually listening to him. It makes me feel better that a true expert is in the room. Not someone who can regurgitate the Clemson talking points. That's what got us in trouble. But that a man who knows how to talk to people, who is a people person, who actually gives a rat's rear end about his players, but they can actually coach. That should give us a lot of hope at Clemson. Next, let's talk about one of the questions that was asked to him, the difference between Dabo and Kirby's locker rooms. And the question was framed quite well. It could dig a trench for Matt Luke, and he answered it like a true seasoned professional. The question was basically, hey, there's two active coaches right now who has 2 national championships to their name, and you worked for both of them. Or you worked for Kirby and now you're at Clemson, so what's the difference and what's the differences, and he really didn't talk anything about like their approach, but all he said was that gets drummed up. It was a really good professional answer, by the way. He said a lot of people drums up the differences in locker rooms and stuff. He said we have the same goal, basically. So that was a really good answer, not to hang himself with either coach, which was a very professional move. That lets you know that he's seasoned and he's experienced, and he would like to keep his coaching options in one day. So brilliant answer. It's a great way to still keep unity and honor his past employer and his current employer. And I really think that after watching that, I think that a lot of young coaches in the country, whether they're at Clemson, if they're a young coach and they're at Clemson and they're coaching side by side with Matt Luke, or if you're someone outside of Clemson, you want to see how to carry yourself as well as how to run a unit, you look no farther than Matt Luke, because he did not preach gloom, despair, and agony on me. He didn't. But he also didn't lie to us. He also didn't exaggerate the progress of his unit, because he knows he's not doing them any favors if he gets them, their progress, if he exaggerates their progress, basically. I was looking for a nice way to say it. Because if Matt Luke tells everybody, oh man, this line right here is ready to go, on the 31st, the Dogs better watch out. We're going to rip the G off the side of their helmet. All us Clemson fans, we're jumping up and down and losing it and everything. And then if things don't go to plan and they struggle and they have miscues that cost us points, he knows that he is not helping his unit. He knows that. And a good leader always knows how to downplay things, but downplay it in a way that still provides for realistic growth and doesn't feel like you are being fed a line of crap. And Matt Luke did it. Matt Luke, I'm telling you folks, you need to go watch that. You need to check it out, because I can't say this enough. It gives me a lot of hope for later on. It gives me a lot of hope for as long as he stays with us, it makes me more positive and optimistic for the coming seasons with a guy like that coaching the offensive line. And I just hope that it'll challenge the coaches around him, especially on the offensive side of the ball, to look at him and go, hold on, I need to compare myself to this experienced genius over here. How am I approaching my unit? Could I learn a thing or 12 from this guy? And I'm telling you, folks, when you put excellence in a room, and it is going to shine on areas that's less than excellent. And people are either going to try to fake it for a period of time until, kind of like he said, the film shows me that, hey, you've got the arrogance, you've got the attitude, you know the talking points for Clemson, but what does the film say? And that was incredible. I'm hoping that it will challenge these guys to step up their game. That's what I really hope. And also, I have been telling you guys this for a long time. Lay off of Matt Luke. Not that he can't handle it. I'm just saying there's some of you who believes that he's going to, I don't believe he's going to fix things overnight. Boy, they're going to be much better. Really? Give the man time. Give Matt Luke time. Give him time. And because the guy that I sat and listened to in that interview, and then the things that I've watched his production, oh my goodness. This is someone we need to be around Clemson. We saw what happened when we had people who played at Clemson, knew the culture, knew how long to hold out that part in the alma mater. Everybody's hands shaking like they got, palsy or something. They knew how to do that, but didn't know how to coach. They were not an expert. This man is. And we need to keep him around. We need to make sure more guys like him are at every position at Clemson football. Why? Because Clemson football is worth it. Clemson football still has the brand. Clemson football still has it for now. And more guys like him will ensure that it stays around and just doesn't fall off into the abyss to where we're talking about, well, you remember back when Clemson was good? Yeah. And also it's also, I'm closing. I was going to close there, but I just remembered this. He made reference to where that what he wants to do is bring that something extra to where Clemson gets back to where they need to be. And he had stayed away from saying anything like that the entire time during this interview. But Matt Luke, towards the end, in the last 5 minutes or so of the interview this week with the media, he said it. Now, he wasn't like beating his chest and going, there's deficiencies around here and we got to fix it. No. But he kept not saying that. He kept complimenting Clemson. He kept complimenting what had been done, the incredible accomplishments, But he did say it. He did say it. And I am glad that he said it with a gracefulness. And by the way, this is a show that talks about college football, namely Clemson. So I'm going to be more passionate. I'm going to criticize because, we can act like the problem doesn't exist. But when you go play, I don't know, a Georgia or another team like that, they will be more than happy to let you know that problems exist. So yes, I talk about it until it gets fixed. Because at that point, I'm just sitting here naming out players and naming out stats and the circumference of someone's left nostril just so we can feel good about ourselves, only to watch them get kicked in the crotch on live national television. So I really don't know, what fake... I can't be fake, I'm sorry. But to hear that he said that and acknowledged it, that gives me hope. And I'm just hoping that the other coaches, especially in the offensive room at Clemson, will look at Matt Luke and go, iron sharpens iron, baby. And he's actually iron. And maybe he'll make them question, hey, what's in my shield? What's in my mindset? And I'm telling you, it's extremely impressive. But for us Clemson fans, it should give us some hope. Hey, I got a bunch of you in here. I hope you will hit the thumbs up. That's free. If you want to subscribe, that's free, and it's the easiest way to support the channel. Also, if you want to support on a monthly basis, there is a join button below this video. You may not see it if you're on an Apple iPhone. I created a $3 tier and a $5 tier. Just, well, you know your finances, and if you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, $3 or $5 per month. I can't get it out. I really do appreciate it. Let's go to the comments section. Got Ridge Runner. Hope we can string together an O-line together. Yeah, I hope so. I really do hope so. And I think that if we could just play just good, solid football and give Cade a little more time, create a little more running space for Phil that he doesn't have to create himself with his frame, you'll create more longevity for him physically, but you'll also give him more of a chance to pad his numbers and move the ball not only down the field but into the end zone. Big John is a supporter of the channel. Hi, Brian. Happy Sunday. If I tell you what I think about the UGA game, you're going to need to send bail money. Peace. Well, thank you for your honest comment. Big John is a supporter. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You see that circle beside his name. He's been a great supporter of the channel. I do appreciate it. Dean Wilson, I believe we will see a much better offensive line this year. Go Tigers, all in. Dean, I tell you this, even if they are not just like blowing people off the ball and just the most dominant offensive line, I do believe that we will see a more intelligent, a more reactive in the way of because of training, a little more training, okay, a lot more development. You know, especially in the trenches, you're really just reactive. You're not, if you stop to think, especially in the trenches, you're going to get your head knocked off. And they have the man to teach them that. And also, he's extremely energetic. And he said that's something that he said that he can't ask his players to be energetic if he's not energetic. I really, really like that, leading by example. Big John, if we see a 50% improvement in the O-line, it will be a noticeable difference. I agree 100%. Bo Weevil, one of my favorite names in here. I do think we are much better this year. An ACC championship and CFP berth are possible. Don't see title game appearance. We upset Georgia 23-21. Go 10-2 or 11-1. Hey, Bo Weevil, I hope you're right. I think that 10-2 is actually possible for us. I don't see the upset, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And folks, for the 9 millionth time, I hope I'm wrong. But the schedule is quite doable. Justin Parrott, hey, from Lake Marion in South Carolina, go Tigers. Over in Lake Marion, thank you, Justin Parrott. It's good to see you. This old guy on ESPN said Dabo wasn't even going to sniff the playoffs this year. Yeah, I know that old guy. And that old guy, that's one thing about the media. They absolutely hated Dabo until Dabo, blew up their favorite team. And I mean, literally blew them up. The only problem that the only challenge I have for Dabo, and he doesn't care what I think, but I mean, just because I don't make $11 million a year, I do believe that's $252,000 a week. Y'all check that. I could be wrong. Just doesn't make it any less true. I think that Sweeney needs to continue to be who he is, but I think he needs to refine himself and not give the media things to say about him. Like, I don't know, I signed a bunch of we just took a bunch of transfers and talking about players from high school, that really starts to invalidate who you are. If the problem is with other things, just some of the passion here and there, okay, you can't pay attention to all of that. But I know that old guy you're talking about, and he looked like he was about to jump off the stadium when Clemson beat Alabama by 4 touchdowns in the national championship, but I know what you mean. Folks, thank you so much. Hope you'll subscribe. Again, it is free and it does support the channel. You take care of yourself. Hope you have a good rest of the weekend and a good week. See you later this week. How many times did I say week? Week. Just kept saying it. Go Tigers.